What's up, guys? I'm Mike Rivers with the Rivers Group at Compass Real Estate. I am a Boston area native and a local real estate advisor. And in this video, we're going to be checking out the downtown Boston neighborhood. And if you are buying, selling, renting anywhere around the greater Boston area, please feel free to reach out at the number below. Let us know what it is you're looking for. We're happy to see if we can help. We love being a resource for people who are following our channel, and we help them out all the time. So feel free to reach out and connect. Let us know what you need, and we're happy to help. And I should probably also mention that I had some technical issues when I filmed the intro to this video yesterday, so it's gonna look like I just changed my shirt in a few seconds here. But with that said, let's take a look at the downtown Boston neighborhood, starting with a brief overview of the history. So Boston was officially founded in 1630, and what is now the downtown neighborhood made up most of Boston proper prior to large expansions in the 1860s and 1870s. After the town of Boston was established by Puritan colonists from England, it rapidly became the political, commercial, financial, religious, and educational center of New England. Downtown is Boston's largest commercial district, and due to its old age, it is home to many of Boston's historical landmarks and tourist attractions. Since the 1700s, downtown has served as the major hub of Boston, and over 240,000 people now work in this part of the city every single day. Downtown Boston has districts within it that are sometimes referred to as separate neighborhoods. You have the Theater District, Downtown Crossing, the Financial District, Midtown, Government Center, and the Waterfront. These all have their own unique characteristics, some of which you could probably guess based on the district names. But in this video, I'm going to be discussing the entire downtown Boston neighborhood as a whole. Living in downtown Boston has its advantages and disadvantages. Now let's take a look at those pros and cons as usual, starting off on a positive note with the pros. The first pro of downtown Boston is the history. As the hub of New England for hundreds of years, this neighborhood has been through a lot, specifically regarding the early days of the American Revolution. The Freedom Trail is paved into the city sidewalks and will guide you to many of the historic locations and structures, most of which are right here in the downtown neighborhood. And whether you're a history buff or not, it's pretty amazing walking the same streets and setting foot in the same buildings as some of those visionaries who began the fight for our independence. From the Old South Meeting House, where a protest was held before the famous Boston Tea Party, to the Old State House and the site of the Boston Massacre, this neighborhood is absolutely packed with carefully preserved history. Pro number two of the downtown neighborhood is tied to the history, and that is the cultural scene. In addition to the Freedom Trail, downtown Boston is a haven for you cultural enthusiasts out there.
I have many leather-bound books, and my apartment smells of rich mahogany.
Faneuil Hall has served as a marketplace and a meeting hall since 1742. A marketplace features a mix of shops, restaurants, and street performers, making it a popular spot for both locals and tourists. Boston Tea Party Ships and Museum lets you experience the events leading up to the American Revolution with guided tours that end with a chance to throw some tea into the harbor just like they did back in the day. The Boston Athenæum is one of the oldest independent libraries in the United States. It houses a vast collection of books, maps, and artwork, and it's known for its historic reading room. The Old State House is one of the oldest public buildings in the US and has witnessed quite a few significant events in American history. It now serves as a museum, offering exhibits on Boston's role in the American Revolution. Then, not strictly a cultural attraction, but on the waterfront you have the New England Aquarium, which has some great marine exhibits, a giant ocean tank, and in my personal opinion, a pretty pathetic and depressing harbor seals exhibit. But needless to say, the cultural attractions in the downtown Boston neighborhood are virtually endless. Pro number three of downtown Boston is the location and the proximity to the city's attractions. In some of my other neighborhood profile videos, I talk about how close those specific neighborhoods are to the heart of the city. Guys, this neighborhood is the heart of the city. You are in the middle of everything here. And I will say, as much as downtown has to offer, you are also surrounded by Boston's other amazing neighborhoods that each have their own unique personality. And with the walkability of the area, you can get to many of those neighborhoods from downtown within a reasonable walk. You can stroll over to the charming Beacon Hill neighborhood for breakfast, and then through the Public Garden before hitting some shops in the affluent Back Bay, and then maybe a beer in the Esplanade, then grab lunch at one of the amazing restaurants in the South End before heading back to the North End for a big Italian dinner before catching a game at the TD Garden in the West End. Now that is certainly a long day with quite a bit of eating involved, and you may not draw your days up exactly like that, but just know that the options here are virtually endless. You are also right on top of the major hubs of the city's subway system, so getting anywhere in the city is a quick T ride from here. Not to mention the expressway runs directly underneath downtown Boston, and the airport is just minutes away, making it easy to come and go, although traffic can be a horrendous nightmare, and therefore is something I'll be touching on in the drawback section of this video. Pro number 4 is the incredible food, shopping, and nightlife scene here in downtown Boston. Start your day off with a caffeine fix at Tate Bakery and Cafe, a local shop now with dozens of locations in the Boston area and the perfect spot to fuel up for the morning. For lunch, Faneuil Hall Marketplace is a great place to grab any variety of cuisine in the massive Quincy Market building. There is also High Street Place, which is another great food hall in the middle of the financial district, and there are plenty of food trucks serving both working professionals during the week and tourists on the weekend. Then for dinner and drinks, some great higher end restaurants downtown include Ostra, French Quarter, Oh Yeah, and then you have some slightly more casual spots in Bostonia Public House, Marielle, and Yvonne's, which is a very cool speakeasy tucked into the alleyways of downtown Crossing. And there are plenty even more casual options, but those are some of the crowd favorites in this neighborhood. Downtown Boston may not be known as the shopping mecca that Back Bay is, but there are still a ton of great shops in this area. You have a mix of boutiques, some classic storefronts, and many of these shops are located in the downtown Crossing area, but be sure to hit Faneuil Hall Marketplace for bustling stalls and a bit more of an eclectic mix of vendors. And if you're looking for some local goods, Boston Public Market is the place to be. It's an indoor, year-round marketplace featuring about 30 New England artisans and food producers housed under one roof, offering fresh foods, prepared meals, and specialty items. You will find no shortage of amazing bars, clubs, and lounges in the downtown area, not to mention the energetic theater district where you can catch any number of shows. And you can find me at the Wilbur Theater a few times a year catching some very talented stand-up comics, but you're probably a little bit less likely to find me at the nightclubs these days, considering my hangovers tend to last the better part of a week at this point. And on the weekends, of course, I'm out helping my amazing clients win homes. Now, many people think of the popular and more newly developed Seaport neighborhood when it comes to nightlife, but downtown Boston was always one of the go-to late night spots to find great nightclubs, and it still is. There are also plenty of pubs and dive bars around, and some of the casual spots to grab dinner and drinks change up the vibe after a certain hour and transform into very busy nightclubs. So if you are a night owl, this neighborhood is still definitely a top contender when it comes to great places to live in Boston. Pro number 6 is the access you have in downtown Boston to the green spaces and the waterfront. You are right next to Boston Common and the Public Garden, two of the city's most iconic parks. You also have Post Office Square in the middle of the financial district and Christopher Columbus Park adjacent to the north end. The completion of the Big Dig back in the early 2000s was a huge catalyst for connecting this area to other parts of the city like the North End and the Seaport, and a major part of that project involved burying a segment of the then elevated I-93 expressway underneath the city in a nearly $15 billion project that took about 15 years to complete. And now, above the underground highway lies a massive park known as the Rose Kennedy Greenway, where you'll find sustainable gardens, walking paths, and even a Trillium beer garden location. Then you have virtually the entire eastern edge of downtown Boston on the water, appropriately known as the waterfront. The Harbor Walk is an array of public pathways that hug the waterfront areas, giving people from all over access to this beautiful section of the city, including this little observation deck overlooking the financial district on one side and the Fort Point Channel on the other. You can also grab a ticket for Boston Harbor cruises and hop around the Boston Harbor Islands for the day. Some commuters actually take ferries operated by the MBTA to the waterfront from outside the city to get into work during the week as a much more scenic and relaxing alternative to the crowded trains and sitting in bumper-to-bumper traffic for 90 minutes. The waterfront also features plenty of great restaurants, some of which I mentioned already, so you can definitely dine with a view here. And with that said, if you are torn between the city and the sea, there is really no better place to live in Boston. Pro number 7 is the countless community events that are taking place in this area of the city. Although this is a major urban center, downtown is not just a place to work or live, but it's a community that knows how to celebrate. The neighborhood even has their own dedicated website, including a calendar of events, festivals, and cultural celebrations that turn the neighborhood into a lively and vibrant social hub. There is always something happening and you are never bored here. You have Boston Harbor Fest celebrating the city's maritime heritage and attracting thousands of people from all over the region. The Boston Marathon finish line is mere blocks away from the downtown neighborhood and is another major annual event that downtown residents and visitors can be a part of. The New Year's Eve fireworks traditionally take place in Boston Harbor as well, so that is a very cool time to live in this part of the city, even if the winters can get somewhat depressing here a little bit later into the season.
If you want to see me again, come down and visit me in Florida.
In addition to these larger scale events, downtown Boston hosts numerous smaller community gatherings throughout the year, including Boston Arts Festival in Christopher Columbus Park, and the Boston Local Food Festival in the Rose Kennedy Greenway. The area's rich history and heritage are celebrated through events like the Freedom Trail Foundation's annual Lantern Tours and other immersive experiences to help educate and engage people in a shared appreciation for the city's roots. In short, there is always something happening downtown, from large-scale festivals to intimate community gatherings, enriching the cultural fabric of the neighborhood and strengthening the bonds between residents, creating a true sense of belonging and camaraderie. Pro number 8 of downtown Boston is the employment opportunities. Again, guys, you are in the heart of the city here. Downtown Boston is a hub for various industries and a career haven. Whether you're in finance, healthcare, or biotech, job opportunities are virtually endless here. And even if you don't work right in downtown, as I mentioned before, living in this neighborhood is going to afford you an easy commute to those nearby corporate and commercial centers, whether that be Cambridge, the Seaport, or Longwood Medical Area. And that's going to do it for the pros section, guys. But before I get into the drawback section of the video, if this video has been helpful so far at all, if it's one of the better Boston area videos you have seen, please let me know by liking, commenting, sharing. It's one of the ways you can let me know I'm providing some value, and also it helps other people find the video on YouTube. And if you have ever been to Boston, drop your favorite feature or experience of the city into the comments. Let people know what else they should check out that I haven't mentioned yet. Unfortunately, I can't cover everything in the video, but that'll provide some value as well. And now let's dive into the drawbacks of the downtown Boston neighborhood. Drawback number 1 is the high cost of living. Yes, not surprisingly, living in the middle of the city is going to come with a higher cost of living. And there are some really nice high-end luxury condos here in the area, including those at the Millennium Tower that have sales prices that start around $1 million and go all the way up into the 20 millions. But the median sales price there is going to be around $2.5, $2.6 million. But now let's take a look at some of the other median sales prices in the downtown Boston area. So within the last 12 months prior to posting this video, the median sales price for studios is $595,000, 1-bedroom condos $1 million even, 2-bedroom condos going for $1.7 million, and 3-bedroom condos going for $3.6 million as the median sales price over the last 12 months. And the rental rates over the last 12 months are the studios are going for $2,800 a month, 1 bedroom's going for $3,600 a month, 2 bedrooms going for about $5,800 a month, and 3 bedrooms going for $9,000 a month. Again, guys, those are just the median sales and rental rates. The numbers vary depending on the listing. So if you want me to keep my eyes open for the perfect downtown Boston condo for you, reach out at the number below. Let me know what it is you're looking for. I'm happy to do some digging for you both on and off the market. Drawback number 2 of living in downtown Boston is the traffic and the roadways. But I will preface this by saying if you are living and working in this part of the city, this isn't going to be as big of a deal for you. But this is a very busy place all year, and traffic here ranks among the worst in the world according to some surveys. What makes downtown traffic even more challenging than some other neighborhoods in Boston is the fact that these older streets have been here for hundreds of years, and most were planned out for horses and foot traffic and not cars or trucks. So if you find yourself driving here, it does feel like someone is playing a cruel prank on you, as the streets seem to have been designed by an absolute sociopath. I actually used to drive box trucks all over the city of Boston, and this particular part of the city still brings out my inner masshole.
What's your problem, schmuck? I'm an inconsiderate prick!
So fair warning before you decide to live here if you do drive frequently. Also, just because the expressways were buried underground in this section of the city as a part of the Big Dig doesn't mean that the traffic suddenly went away. It just means that the endless rows of rush hour taillights are now in the tunnels below the surface roads. So if you commute by car to the downtown area for work, get ready to have your patience tested. Rush hour here now seems to last from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. with maybe a couple of small windows of lighter traffic around midday. But again, a lot of people choose to live in this neighborhood specifically to avoid that rush hour commute. So the traffic's not going to be as much of an issue if you work and live in this part of the city. Drawback number 3 is the limited space. Somewhat related to the narrower streets and the older roads is the overall lack of breathing room off the streets and into some of the living spaces. Now, most of these newly built high-end condos are generally going to be less confining and feel a bit more spacious, especially if you're willing to pay for it. But some of the older buildings, even though they may have beautifully renovated interiors, may have some very tight living spaces. However, those are generally going to be a little bit more affordable since they have a smaller square footage. But regardless, you should have some idea of what your minimum square footage needs are before buying or even renting an apartment here. And even though this neighborhood is a far cry from the density of towering skyscrapers in New York City, if you are a little on the claustrophobic side and choose to live downtown, it may be a good idea to favor the areas near the water or the large parks because it can definitely feel more confining in this neighborhood when compared to other less dense areas of Boston. Speaking of density, drawback number 4 is the noise and crowds. Downtown is a high energy part of the city, which also means city sounds and lots of people, especially during peak tourist seasons. During the week, the area is slammed with working professionals, and on the weekends, the waterfront, the historic areas, and the shopping hubs are loaded up with tourists. The streets of the financial district may be quieter on the weekends, but the tourist scene in Faneuil Hall and the waterfront will be quite the opposite. While this is definitely a great place to live if you like to be in the middle of the city energy, if you aren't one for crowds and the sounds of the city, this is definitely not the best option for you, since areas like Beacon Hill and Back Bay feature streets and condos that don't even feel like you're in the city at all. And with that said, in the hotter, more humid summer months, many locals will flee to Cape Cod or the North and South Shore beach towns, as well as up north to Lake Life in New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine. So those really sticky summer weekends are going to be more tourist heavy, but the ocean breeze along the waterfront keeps that area of downtown pretty busy as long as the weather is nice. Drawback number 5 is the limited parking. As it is in most areas of Boston, street parking is limited here, and the parking garages are going to be about $40 a day, $400 to $500 a month. And although I have seen a private parking spot available for purchase as low as $70,000, if you are purchasing a new condo, you want to plan to pay at least $100,000 to $150,000 additionally on top of the purchase price of your new condo. Guys, thank you so much for sticking with me through this video. That wraps up the pros and cons of living in downtown Boston. And if you found this video even remotely helpful, please help me out by liking, subscribing, commenting. Let me know I provided some value here and it helps other people find the video as well. If you are interested in living in any area of Boston, please feel free to reach out at the number below. Let me know what it is you're looking for. It costs you nothing to connect with me, and I love helping people out that are following our channel. And thank you guys again so much for your time. I appreciate you watching the video, and stick around, subscribe for more great Boston real estate content. Take care, guys.